Yo, what's up? It's Lost Words, and welcome back to my year in book hauls. I think I'm just gonna go with that. A year in book hauls, video series. I'm having to split up my fall hauls, my autumn hauls into two, because there's all the books I bought, and then there's bought from like Books A Million or Barnes and Noble, and then there's all the books I bought at the Friends of Library book sale, which I already mentioned is a biannual sale in my area, and there's a fall sale where I got like 20-ish books alone, and in addition to the books I'm about to show you, it would just be an excruciatingly long video. So I'm gonna have a part 1 and a part 2 of fall/winter 2017. I changed shirts because it's actually relevant to the book I got, because in October, when this book came out, on I think October 5th, I got to meet my favorite author, who I have a shelf dedicated to, Rick Riordan, and I got this cool t-shirt for the third book and the Magnus Chase series, also the final book called The Ship of the Dead. I've started reading and haven't finished reading it because I had a very crazy fall semester. Of like the 100 pages I've read, I've loved it. Though I'm kind of Rick Riordan trash, so whatever Uncle Rick writes, I will read. That's all I gotta say, since this is the third and last book in this series. So the first one I just happened to find when I was at the bargain section at Books A Million. I've been meaning to read this series. I don't even have the first or the second one. This is the third one. So I'm not really gonna say anything besides that it's Waistcoats and Weaponry, the Finishing School third book by Gail Carriger. The next book is Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. I have already read this one. I enjoyed it very much. It's a very fun read. It's not very intensive or hard to understand or anything. It's not a very unique. No, it's pretty unique. I mean, it's just not a very gripping novel. I don't know, I just enjoyed it. Like, it's one of those almost guilty pleasure novels. It's basically about a girl who, she's like the head cheerleader stereotype. She's gonna be prom queen. She has her life all planned out until on, I think it's the homecoming dance night, she goes to fix up her makeup in the bathroom, and the janitor gets killed right in front of her, and then he somehow, when dying, transfers to her the powers of the paladin, which is basically just like an enhanced strength protector person of her chosen person she protects. I don't know if there's a word for that, but basically the person she's supposed to devote her life to and to protect is the guy that she hates. And since she already has a boyfriend, she doesn't really want to spend a lot of time with this girl, or this guy that she hates, in order to protect him, even though now that she's a paladin, it's kind of inevitable because it's now in her fate. And of course, like, love triangles and stuff ensues, and it's set in the Deep South, so there's a lot about like debutantes and stuff like that. Yeah, just a really fun read. I can't wait to get I have the second. It's actually in this book haul. Okay, can't wait to read the second and then get my hands on the third book after I hopefully like the second, to read that. And then I think it's just a trilogy, so then I'll be good to go. So the next book is actually the second book in a series that I have read the first book, but since I checked it out from the library, I don't have the first book. I need to get it. I just haven't, because I haven't found it anywhere for a price that I was willing to pay, because I've already read it, and it's, yeah. So basically the book is Cured by Bethany Wiggins. The first book is Stung. I picked up this series because I never see my name anywhere, and the main character's name is also Fiona. So it's about the world post-apocalypse. What happened was bees were dying off at an alarming rate, so we could not grow crops. And then science was like, hey, we'll just genetically modify bees in order to stop that from happening. And except they basically created a killer bee virus that infected everyone. In order to stop that, they gave people vaccines for it, And then the vaccines wound up being bad and turning people into mutant heathens that were basically cannibals that would, you know, eat and kill the people who were poor because they could not afford the vaccines. Fiona wakes up in her room not remembering why she is there, because her room basically looks like a disaster zone, and when she looks in the mirror, she does not look as old as she remembers herself being, which is basically around like, I think it's like 13 or something, and she looks significantly aged, and she can't remember where those years of her life were spent. She can't remember anything at all, and she has a tattoo on her wrist that basically looks like a bee, like an insect with 10 legs, and something in her brain tells her to cover up that tattoo on her wrist. And then something tries to attack her. She's not sure what it is. It looks humanoid, but it doesn't really act human. So she's on the run, and it's her trying to survive in this apocalyptic world where she doesn't remember how this happened, she doesn't remember where her family is, she doesn't remember where her friends are, or why the world is just in ruin. I found it very interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. It's a short read. It's only like, I don't know, it's about as big as this book too. This next book I actually won on Goodreads, The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. And it's basically about Russian fairy tales, kind of how this family is cursed / affected by these fairy tales, and them trying to survive, basically. I don't know much beyond that. Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. And I have it as a signed copy because I'm extra in there's a signature. I've always really enjoyed Wonder Woman. She's probably one of my favorites from DC, especially because she's kind of the flip side, the other side of the same coin of Captain America to Marvel, and since Captain America is basically like Steve Rogers is my favorite person on earth kind of thing, I decided to like take the plunge. I actually wasn't going to buy it, but then I started reading that little preview on, I think, Amazon or something. I don't know. One of the book providers offered like a first chapter preview online to like start reading it, and I did, and then I got hooked, and so I wound up buying 2 because I wanted one for myself, and then I bought one for my sister for Christmas because she's a giant fan of Wonder Woman as well. I haven't finished it, but I highly enjoy what I have read. Leigh Bardugo is just honestly a good author in general. The next, well, it's 2 books because it's in a series, and one of them just came out, and then I had to because it's also some of my favorite things, are the Hunting Prince Dracula and Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie. I'm not gonna butcher her last name. I'm not even gonna try. Stalking Jack the Ripper is the first one. I'm not a fan of what Jack the Ripper did. I don't stand serial killers. He's like an example, like he's a model for what you don't do in life. I was in London several years ago. I went on a tour to around all of the places that he actually murdered the women that he did, and I'm very interested in this, that it's basically a story of someone who gets Jack the Ripper for what he did. It's him getting caught. It's Dracula getting caught. You know, it's these bad guys who are finally put down for their sins. And, well, I guess not sins, but they're like wrongdoings. I'm not religious, so I don't really care about sinning. We all sin. Next, I'm going to present the Court of Thorn and Roses and Court of Mist and Fury. I've read them both. Also read them both in a day, and then I also have read a Court of Wings and Fury? No, Wings and Ruin. A Court of Wings and Ruin, the third and last book. I loved them all. I think it's a wonderful series. The romance is great. The character developments are great. You learn to hate people. You learn to forgive people. It's another great world that Sarah J. Maas has created about fairies and their way they use magic. It was about a human who becomes a fairy after almost dying like a billion times. Great series. I just haven't gotten my hands on the last one yet because I got these two for a bargain deal for like a third of their initial price. Camera keeps shutting off. But anyways, I got the exclusive edition of Tower of Dawn, which just means it has fan art on the inside. And I'm not gonna say much about it. I will say, like, throughout the series, this isn't my favorite book. The last one, what is it? Empire of Storms, I think will forever be my favorite because that one was just so gut-wrenching and action-packed and had so many characters and so much development and so many things going on that I just couldn't help not to love it, especially since the ending basically just like cut my heart out of my chest and showed it to me, crushed it, and then threw it in a river. And it was very intense and I loved it very, 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 very much. I think I cried like so many times in that novel. This one I didn't really cry as much, but this one follows the other half of their group during the same timeline. Some people have complained that it's slow, but I understand the need for this novel and I greatly appreciate it because it made me learn to respect a character that I had grown to hate over the past couple of novels. So I was thankful for that because it just speaks to Sarah J. Maas's character complexity and the way that she writes these characters and the way she can manipulate me to basically think whatever she wants me to think about characters. She's really great and she has such a large world and such an extensive cast of characters to work with that I appreciate the fact that she actually spends time giving us information about all of them because I'm just a sucker for characters. I probably need to look up a synopsis before I try and read this one, but I just remember really loving them because they were everything Twilight didn't give me in the grunginess that a vampire world would be. They were very well written characters and plot and everything. I love Julia. I love Julie Kagawa so much as an author. I actually like this series better than her other series about fairies. I never wound up finishing that one just because I got so upset with the two main characters who are in love. I don't know why, I just did. It's not to say I won't ever finish it, I probably will because I enjoy the writing and I enjoyed the story so much. Since characters are a big thing for me, the fact that I was starting to get annoyed with the characters turned me off from reading it, but I have that series on box set. So my camera just actually ran out of space on the card because I've been filming so long to get this year in book hauls done. So, okay. I left off on The Forever Song by Julie Kagawa, and now we'll go to Flame in the Mist by Renee Adier? I don't know. I've read this one, it was phenomenal, I loved it. It's kind of like an ancient Japan fantasy novel. It's about a girl named Mariko, and she's being married off to the prince, basically, of the shogunate. And she doesn't exactly want to be. If you don't know a lot about ancient Japan, this book is, I would say it's pretty explanatory, so you can understand what's going on. You might not know the specific weapon somebody is using, but you're in no way in the dark if you don't know anything about Japan. But other than that, it's a very interesting read. It's again about like kind of a corrupt kingdom that this girl is trying to escape from because she doesn't necessarily like her betrothed. She doesn't hate him, she just doesn't like him, and she wants to find a place for herself. She's trying to find that place, and she doesn't really find it where she thinks she should. Or it's kind of like a surprise where she thinks she wants to be. It's the first book in this series, presumably. I don't know when the next one's coming out. I don't even know what it's called. I should probably look that up because I plan to read it. The next book that I actually pre-ordered and got a signed book plate is All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. I picked up this book. I've been a fan of Maggie since I read The Scorpio Races by her. That's actually to this day still my favorite novel by her. It's a standalone. I believe this one, All the Crooked Saints, is also a standalone. This one has to do a lot with like Latin culture, Mexican cultures. It's set in an older time period, I believe the 1940s. I don't know, oops, if you want to see the signed book plate, I follow her on Instagram and Twitter, so I've been seeing like the evolution of this as it was drawn, which was really fun to see her work with her colored pencils. And as a fellow artist, it was great. But basically, it's kind of about these families or something like that. I don't know. I've heard good praise from it. I know she did a ton of research for this book, so I praise her for that specifically. She talked with a lot of families and did a ton of book research for this novel, I know, just to try and get things as right as possible. And I love the cover. The cover is like one of my favorite covers of her. Actually, I love most covers that go with her books. Like, I wasn't like a giant fan of this Shiver series just because I'm not a giant fan of werewolves. I still loved it though. I actually need to probably buy that for myself. I will borrow them all from a friend. But I love the novel covers that she gets specifically. I don't know, I don't think she really ever has a hand in them. I know she like does all the book plates and stuff by herself, but whoever designs her book covers are doing great. Next, Warcross by Mary Lou. I happened to get it signed because it was there, and versus getting it signed versus not signed for the same price, why not get it signed? I've heard a lot of good things about this novel. I don't actually know anything about it. I've read her Legend series all the way up to Prodigy. I haven't read Champion, even though I should. That's all I really got to say because I literally know nothing about Warcross except for that I'm gonna love it because I love Mary Lou, I love her writing, and everybody else has said it's been pretty good. The next book is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. And this one's about a girl who her sister goes missing and is presumably in this kind of circus type thing called Caraval, which she then travels to go find her sister, and it turns out to be like a dark and dangerous place that she has to navigate it in order to get her sister back, and she runs into all these problems. I'm assuming there's like death and all that other good, wonderful stuff that I always love in these types of novels. I have heard mixed reviews about it, but I'm sure I'm gonna like it just because my standards aren't that high. Okay, I'll just say I have now the entire Vampire Academy in a box set, and I plan to read them, possibly reread them if I don't remember as much as I think I do when I start to read the fourth book. But other than that, I know I really enjoyed these series. I'm kind of a sucker for vampires. I don't know why, and the whole like werewolf to vampire fight, I'm on vampires for some odd reason. Yeah, judge me. But I now have these on box set, and I'm excited about that because I have never been able to finish it, and everybody loves these books. So I'm excited to finally know what the hype is all about. The next book that I got is Winter Song by S.J. Jones. This has to do about a girl who has to go up against the Goblin King, of course, to save her sister. I feel like I'm getting a lot of those books too, and it has to do with a fantastical world surrounding this Goblin King and all of his subjects. The next book in this haul is Unravel Me, which I have never actually read. I've only read the first one, Shatter Me. I've heard so much praise about this series, and the last book, Ignite Me, which I don't have yet. I don't think I have Ignite Me yet. It's not in this haul, so I don't have it yet. I plan to get it soon, and I plan to finish reading the series because I very much so enjoyed the first one, and I hear the romance in it is pretty good, which isn't really like a giant thing I worry about, but a lot of my friends were like, you gotta keep reading it, you gotta keep reading about this one guy who I won't mention because it doesn't matter. And this is the second book of the series. It's just basically a girl who brings death and destruction and why everybody hates her, and then she finds a place where not everyone hates her and things happen. Just like any post-apocalyptic book. It's dystopian. Gotta love it. The next book in this haul is The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. Yeah. And I've already read this one, and I've read the the Retribution, the second book in this series. I just borrowed them from a friend, so I never got them. And I haven't read The Evolution of Mara Dyer. And then I'm kind of been wanting to finish them because now there's The Unbecoming of Noah. The guy, I can't remember his last name, Noah. But since Evolution of Mara Dyer is the second one, and then Retribution is the third one, my bad. But there's this trilogy, and then she's now gone back and written the books for the other main character, Noah, who I believe is the love interest for Mara. If I'm remembering correctly, it was all the way back in middle school. It's like almost a decade ago now. I hate myself. So I need to finally actually finish reading these so I can continue on and continue loving these. I know not everyone's a fan of these books, but I enjoyed them at the time I was reading them, and I hope I continue to enjoy them. Just because I hate it when people ruin books for me, or I ruin books for myself down the road. Like I wanna continue liking books after I've read them, if you get what I mean. The next one is a book that I have not personally read, but everyone under the planet has read and loved it dearly, and that is The Darkest Minds. The Darkest Minds is by Alexandra Bracken. I actually don't really know much about what it's about, besides I guess a bunch of kids with superpowers or something. No clue, but I just know the entire world has raved about this book, and so I finally got this book when I saw it on Book Outlet, and I bought it so I could have it and then finally read it and find out what the hype was about. And that's basically it. The next book is Miss Mayhem by Rachel Hawkins. I've already mentioned the first one in this series, which is Rebel Belle. I haven't read this one yet, but I plan to enjoy it. It's kind of one of those guilty pleasure books where there's just like random love triangle thrown in there. She's strong, she helps out these guys. She's a paladin, which is basically just like a protector of this guy, blah 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 blah. I feel like I've just been talking, like you can hear the grain in my voice. I've been talking for so long now that I'm just starting to lose it. I'm gonna lose my voice. I don't usually talk this much, so having to like talk to this camera so much pre-recording, you just hear the voice quality go explode. Anyways, so this is the second book of the Rebel Belle series. I hope to enjoy it eventually. You'll probably see it sit on my shelves for the next 20 years. That's okay. The next two books are in a series, and that would be Truth Witch and Wind Witch. Truth Witch is the first one, Wind Witch is the second one, by Susan Dennard. Basically, it's about witches in this world, witches each have different types of power and things that they control. Being a truth witch is one of the rarest and most powerful abilities, and so it's kind of about this witch who is a truth witch and her journey. I don't know much beyond that. I know there are mixed reviews, but I plan to like it. There are very few novels I actually go into that I think I'm gonna like it and I wound up not liking it. I think the only two that I've recently gone into and not actually liked were The Maze Runner and Carve the Mark. I didn't quite enjoy those two because I didn't care what happened to the characters. And I finished them both and I was like, yay, these are cool and all. I'm sure other people like them, but I personally don't care for them. So we have officially made it to the end of part 1 of this fall/winter year in book haul 2017, and that is Clerial by Garth Nix. I realize this is apparently like the third one in the series, but my friend, who this is her favorite series, she told me to start with this one. So when I was editing this video, I realized that I gave a poor description of this series and I did a bad outro. Basically, my friend told me to start with this book and then start back from book 1. I don't really know much about it except that it's more towards high fantasy. It has its own like very complex cast of characters, and that it's bound to be very good because she's not someone who takes recommending books lightly. And that concludes part 1 of the fall/winter year-end book hauls. I'm probably just gonna call this one fall though for the sake of conciseness. Next, I will be doing the Friends of the Library book sale book haul. I have about, I think, 20 or 21 books that I got at that sale. I have them at the very top of my bookshelf right now because I haven't wanted to put them on the shelves because I was afraid I'd forget which ones I got specifically there. But I'm excited to show you guys all of those books because I was astonished at how many I found, because usually I find, like, my dog's barking in the background. I apologize. I'm just gonna ignore her. Usually at this book sale I find maybe like 5 to 10 books I really enjoy and want to read, but this year I found 20, so it was kind of like amazing. Like, thank you to all those people in libraries who donated those books that I want to read, because I got it all for like probably under $50 or something like that. It was amazing. Amazing. That is all for this book haul. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to comment about any books that you have read or recommend from this haul, or if you completely agree with some of my judgments on books I have read through this haul. If you hated something that I liked, feel free to tell me that. I don't, that's your entitled opinion. Not everybody has to like all the same book. But other than that, that's all I have, and I will see you when I finish filming and editing the next video for the last book haul of this year. Last words out.